Should you get and build Qiubai? Short answer, probably. Long answer, this entire video.
Doctor, I'm Qiubai. I can't say for certain how long I will stay at Rhodes Island, but every meeting is a stroke of fortune. I trust we'll get along just fine.
最後まで私はあやつらが何のために剣を手にしたか分かりませんでした。もしかしたら本人たちにも分かっていないかもしれない。
Qiubai, a swordswoman from Yan who has traveled to many places in the country. Her journey started 10 years ago around the year 1092. When her father, who was the leader of a bandit group in the region, was killed by the warriors led by Chongyue. The young Qiubai didn't know yet about what her father do for living. So upon his death she is full of hatred and set out to take revenge, traveling the country for 5 years. Until she finally reached Yumen where Chongyue lived. But Chongyue, who knew who she is, takes the young Qiubai to live in Yumen, teaches her martial arts technique, and said she can always fight him for her revenge whenever she's ready. Eventually, Qiu becomes a skilled and respected swordswoman in the city. And after 5 years in Yumen, witnessing Chongyue's benevolence and thinking that she shouldn't live with hatred, she has decided to let go of her vengeance. Later, around the same time Chongyue retire and leave Yumen, Qiubai also leave the city and travel around the country. In her journey, some of our operators have received aid from her. With her knowledge and combat skill, we invited her to become an operator to help us with activities in Yan. She accepted, and is now a Rhodes Island operator. Remember Qiubai, you have no enemies. But you do have people to convince that you are worth their resources. Anyway, Lady Qiu is our third 6-star Lord Guard in the game. The other two already proved to be a worthy operators to have. So what about her? Well, let's find out how good she is. As a Lord Guard, she has a long range and can do ranged attacks. But normally she only deals 80% of her attack stat for the ranged attack. And among other 6-star Lord, she specializes on DPS and crowd control, mainly slow and bind. She also got various ability to deal arts damage to the enemies, and attacking multiple enemies. Okay, for her stats. Got good stats for both attacking or fighting enemy head on. Cheap enough to be deployed pretty early. Especially for episode 12 mechanism, where your DP cap will be reduced. And pretty quick attack speed to fit her skills. And this is her talent. Talent 1 makes her deal additional damage when attacking someone with slow or bind effect, while talent 2 gives her a 20% chance to bind a target. To make the most out of her damage, you should try to get her talent 1 always active by slowing or binding the enemy. And since talent 2 is unlocked after E2 promotion, and it can be quite a gamble, you should partner her with someone who can do those debuffs. Death'll binder supporters tend to be the best choice for the job. Ethan is also a great choice for binding. But the best one will fall on Suzuran. Not only she can slow continuously, but also gives enemy fragility effect which makes enemy take more damage. Now this is her potential upgrade. Nothing significant if I may say, so she's okay with no extra pot. And about module. Well, there's nothing to talk about since Lord Guard doesn't have one yet. So pray hard she will get a Mostima level module. Alright, now for her skills. 2 of her skills are offensive recovery, which is bad if she is outside of combat, and her last skill got a pretty expensive SP cost. If you have some SP support units, you might want to use them with her. Anyway, let's see her skill 1. Skill 1 is a next attack type, which will bind the enemy for a few seconds, and let her next attack deal some arts damage. When the bind ended, it will explode dealing arts damage. Not only to the poor sod who got bound but also to the surrounding enemies. Overall it's a solid first skill that provides AoE damage and keeps one enemy from moving for a few seconds. But I'd suggest you use her other skills once you unlock it. They do better to stall, damage and take care of multiple enemies. Moving on, what about her skill 2? She will immediately deal lots damage to all ground enemies in a straight line, and changing her attack range until the skill ends. It also increases her attack, and all ground enemies will be slowed. When the skill ends, she will deal physical damage to all ground enemies in range. It's a good skill for holding an arrow lane with many ground enemies, while dealing a high amount of burst arts and physical damage. The SP cost is also not really bad for offensive recovery. Slap some SP support.
How about a little pay bump, eh?
And it's going to be a pretty remarkable burst skill. Sadly, it's useless against aerial enemies, and her next skill tend to be the best option to use. Last, and most definitely her best skill. Skill 3, expand her range to something like Frostleaf after E2 promotion. It increases her attack, attacking 3 targets at the same time. Double her talent 1 damage at M3, ranged attack no longer have damage reduce, and her attack speed increases every time she attack. To maximize her damage, you'll need to make sure her talent 1 active often. Sadly, this skill doesn't inflict any slow or bind, so you are left with Qiubai talent 2 to inflict bind effect, but it's not 100% reliable. So pair her with someone who is reliable on those. If you manage to do that, she can deal massive damage while also hinders enemy movement, both ground and flying targets. And like I mentioned before, this skill got a pretty expensive cost, but you can manage that if you have SP support unit. Additionally, with Stainless, you can use his S2 to charge her SP faster, or use his S3 turret to make Qiu maximizing her attack speed early, and also use the turret to deal additional physical damage. Overall, an excellent DPS and crowd control skill. For skill mastery priority, it will fall to S3. It's her best skill to go both for the damage and control. The mastery gain is also great, increasing her attack and reducing her SP cost, with a significant upgrade at M1 that multiply her talent 1 damage. And after M1 it will increase how many attack speed bonuses she can stack. For base skill, she will speed up guard operator training speed, and after E2 further boosts the process, but only for Lord Guard, which isn't nice with how specific it is. I think most already built their Lord Guard, and we won't have any new Lord anytime soon. So, that's all for Qiubai. She's a versatile guard who aims to accomplish 2 things: DPS and crowd control. Not completely busted or bad, but a decent operator if I may say. Useful in main story and in some upcoming events. Triple S with buffs. Not a strong starting option for IS, but a good pick when you got these collectibles. However, important thing I must say about her debut banner. It is in a very tight spot right now. The other operators in her debut banner are hardly anything special, and her debut is very close to the estimated Monster Hunter collab, and not to mention the operators after them. So if you have very limited resources, skipping Qiubai debut banner is a wise choice. But if she fits your preferences, well, why not? That should be all. Adios.